Video got kind of cut off there, but so I'm going to show you guys everything I got put into this system, and it's kind of in a rough mode right now. I'll kind of clean it up a little bit later once I get a few more things. But what I ultimately ended up getting, I got this little silver coil you can see back there in the back of the reservoir. The little temperature readout display thing here, the company never got back to me on this, so I just ended up ordering one from somebody else. And it was a little bit too small, but a little hot glue fixed that up. You can see that flow meter flowing. It's actually spinning counterclockwise, but the camera on this thing makes it look like it's spinning whichever direction it feels like. So you can see these fittings I got in here. I've got the Monsoon fittings. These things are nice because the centerpiece, they have a little tool. You put the centerpiece in, you use the back end of the tool to tighten the centerpiece in, and then on the other end it's got a little dill that allows it to slide around the hose and grab these little notches here on the side of the compression fittings, and you can tighten them down that way. I'll show you the tool here in a little bit. I just chose basic clear PVC tubing. Wasn't trying to do anything fancy with this rig. Here's my rad. This is a 360 millimeter rad. Got some purple cheap case fans in a pole configuration. I went with purple for a couple of reasons. One, I got blue and red case fans in the case, so why not? And two, it's my wife's favorite color, so what the hell, right? So got these three fans on. These things are quiet, you can't even hear these things. And on the back, these are just dust screens. I put these dust screens on here so that when it comes time to clean the dust off, I'm not trying to clean it out of the fins of the rad. All I gotta do is clean it off the screens. I kind of sold myself short, kind of miscalculated how many compression fittings I needed, so I ended up just using some clamps and barbs on the radiator. Now what I'm ultimately going to do with this is I've already ordered a component. There's a mounting bracket that you can get that you'll bolt to these right here on the on this fan housing here. You see 80 millimeter, 90 millimeter case fan points. This is for a radiator bracket. So I'll just mount a radiator bracket to this, and then to the back of the radiator, and that will hold the radiator right here. I'm going to replace these with 90-degree angles so that I can bring the tube straight down. As you can see, the case actually had the holes in it. Just had to punch the little things out to pass the hoses through it. My configuration I got here, I'm running it from the reservoir to the rad. And then back in from the rad down to my bottom GPU, up to the top GPU, and then back to the back of the reservoir. I've had to move a few of my cards around, which is kind of a pain in the neck, but you know. Now, I don't have any heat sinks on the GDDR5 on this card, and it stays surprisingly cool compared to what they would be running on the cardstock heatsink. I did retain the back plate to help sink the heat, as much heat away from the chips as possible on the back. And I got some low profile sinks coming in for these. Gotta have the low profile sinks to get underneath this space here with the fittings. Now I've got a three segment radiator, and right now that's my coolant temperature. And my GPU temperature hasn't gone over 40 degrees under load. So I think I drove the cards a little too hard with that last test. That's alright, I'll just restart. So my default overclock configuration for these cards that I've been running on is to just simply overclock them to their Quadro 5000 counterparts, because they're the same chip, same RAM, a little bit less of the RAM, but still the same type of RAM, and they runs very stably at those clock speeds. It's not a whole heck of a lot faster, but it works. But my number one goal that I was hoping to achieve, I have achieved. Under load, 40 degrees Celsius is cooler than the idle temperature of these cards was before, which started at 51 degrees and even higher just idling, and then jump up as high as 80 under load. So, and I don't know if you can hear the difference between this video and my first video, but it's a lot quieter not having those fans on these Quadro cards ramping up to keep the heat out. As you can see, what I did here, I got this universal water block. It's bolted down to the back plate right there, and you can see the fans just hanging out there, spinning around, just moving air across the VRMs. Everything's been running pretty good. I think I can safely say I'm happy with this. Now let's get in here and going to run a benchmark and show you what kind of numbers I'm getting.